All right, here we are. Thanks for joining. We're here with the best mastermind group, and we've got Jeff Nichols from Mantis Medical Equipment here again. Hey, Jeff.
How are you, Nathan?
I'm great, and you? You coined that phrase. We're here with Paul Jordan and Charisma Lewis, and we're talking about PPE and what Mantis is up to. So, Jeff, give us a little update on where you're at with your PPE program, and we'll pepper you with a few questions to learn more.
Yeah, so PPE is so dynamic. Even in the 3 months that it's been in my life, we've changed a lot of things about the program. And actually this week, as we see things progressing here in New York State, things are opening up. We're heading towards a new era. We've actually expanded our program so that I'm a little leery, but we're actually bringing in some non-medical 3-layer masks. So, vendors, movie theaters, churches, things like that is a little more cost effective. We've knocked a few pennies off the masks, but the big thing is moving forward is looking for some of these areas, these non-medical professionals, and how we can help them out. They're wading into areas they've never had to. They're trying to buy things they've never had to, and we've had a couple of inquiries the last couple of weeks, and I was able to actually connect with somebody in California, a manufacturer. And so the big thing for us now is I think we've actually put our first order in just today for the non-medical grade masks. So the PPE is spreading to non-medical industries, and I think it's going to be a big deal.
It's a big deal for everybody now, right? If it wasn't a big deal before, it is now. Yeah, that's great to hear.
And just as we were watching the trends, that when it started, everybody ran out, and so there was this lag to get new product, and then it was flowing pretty good. But now we're starting to see that again, where the time frame, the ETA is starting to expand again a little bit. So I always try to warn people about that.
Plan ahead.
Yes.
Time flies. Plan ahead. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about some of the different the different types of businesses now that are having to, and you mentioned a few of them just now: movie theaters, industrial. What are some of the others that you're getting orders for that maybe might be surprising to some to hear?
I think the big one, we're starting to get some inquiries from churches. So we're trying to figure out, and I know a lot of the states are doing things very differently from one another. But the idea here in New York, we were just discussing that this morning. There's a church that's got about 300 person capacity in the sanctuary, and because of the social distancing requirements, they're planning on probably only having 75, folks. And so, what does that look like? How do you accommodate that? So now, these guys, they're not running around with lots of extra money and things they didn't budget for. They really got to be conscientious to think about. And so trying to help them wade through that, making those decisions. Some people might bring their own mask, but the reality is, if you're a church or, an organization, you've got 100 folks a week, you're going to be going through a lot more masks than you think you are,
Right.
That was the other thing, was we've got the minimum order requirements, and one of the inquiries said, I'm not looking to buy 1,000 masks. And I'm thinking, well, you're probably going to use 200 a week. 1,000 masks is not a lot of masks. So helping people realize that this is
see the reality of what that flow looks like, of what they need to get, what they need to start thinking of as normal. Charisma, out in LA, out in that area, you're seeing both coasts are a little different, and the stuff in the middle is different. In LA, you're seeing a lot of interesting things going on. Could you relate some of that to what Mantis is offering and give us some insight?
Well, I think I like the fact that you had brought up that it's not just for medical facilities that we're slowly opening up. I know that it's mandated to have not the regular type of masks. It's required at the grocery stores, at the shopping center. So I think it's imperative to understand what the process of ordering and the turnaround time. So maybe you can talk about that, Jeff.
That's a great question.
It's tough. Again, people haven't budgeted for this and they don't know what they're looking for. So one of the issues is waiting until the last minute. I mean, we live in America, right? So we can go to Costco if we have to at the last minute and just buy stuff. And this is not how this works.
Right.
A lot of our equipment, they are, the test kits, things like that, those are being produced a little bit ahead of time. But most of the real PPE equipment, this is being produced per order. So there isn't a huge stockpile in somebody's warehouse. I mean, they're manufacturing to order. And I was just telling someone yesterday that part of the order for today that we've placed, you can wait until tomorrow. They're telling me the ETA is 7 days.
Okay.
But the reality is, if they get 15 large orders between now and tomorrow, that ETA can blow up to 14 to 21 days overnight. And so you've never budgeted for things that you've never had to buy before. And on top of that, you get someone like me telling you, yeah, and you're going to need to pay up front and you need to buy it, weeks before you're actually going to need it. What does that look like? I mean, I think we've all been in a purchasing situation, even for our personal economies at home, where that's a really difficult thing to gauge, and so I find, you're half salesman and a lot of times you're kind of half counselor, encouraging people that, look, everybody's in the same boat. We don't know what to expect. People will call and say, what do you recommend? I don't know. That's hard because I'm now spending your money on something you don't need yet. So the idea really is start budgeting now. Where can you cut corners? And what do you think your needs are going to be? And you need to buy enough, outside of that time frame to manage to the next ETA to get there. So, if you're functioning, you can't just shut down for 3 days because you ran out of masks. I mean, you can't.
Which would be the reality for people if they don't nail this.
It would.
They would have to, right? Especially for some of the places where it's going to be more strict. And I think it's key that this is a program of Mantis. I'm seeing it all over the place where people that have never touched this industry before, all of a sudden, I would say opportunistically selling and trying to make a bundle in the next 6 months, which of course I would say we want to avoid that like the plague. No pun intended whatsoever. Working with someone that sees this as a program and sees this as a long-term play, I think is key. And it's so much more a matter of the educational process. Like you asked, Charisma, that what do you come to expect now that this is a reality, and having an organization that can truly build a program, which is a big chunk of it being, expectation management, and a whole chunk of it being trust, and then actually being able to fulfill and get those minimum orders, deal with the suppliers. You're saying these are being manufactured per order. So having an advocate to make sure your orders get fulfilled, that's a program versus a sale. So I think that's key to talk about, and how maybe talk about that a little bit on how you started building the program, and maybe some of the things that set out Mantis. What are some of the things that set up Mantis as an entity, and how you're approaching this as a program?
Yeah, so I think my background serves me well here. In a previous life for about 25 years, I did sell commodities, worked for a couple of companies that imported from around the world. So having the general idea that, the logistics is so important. You can have the best product in the world, but if you can't figure out how to get it from A to B, that's going to kill you. So the logistics aspect, but the other thing that really has grown on me, we did a lot of homework. You hear the horror stories, you hear success stories, and most of us spend most of our life somewhere in the middle of that bell curve. But what I noticed was you want the FDA certifications on most of this that's required. And so a lot of people will say they have certs and they don't actually provide those, and so you're having 3, 4, 5 conversations and they're still failing to give you like the basic document that says I can trust them. And then what I've also noticed, I think I kind of stumbled on this backwards, but a lot of the FDA certs I was getting, they were like February, March of 2020. So, okay, what were you producing in January? I'm not saying that I'm not trying to discredit them, but have you been in the game just the 2 months then? Because, I've got certifications. The main supplier that we are dealing with, my FDA certs go all the way back to the 90s. So this is a company that I trust because they've got certifications of
track record.
5 years they've been producing this equipment, and they can show you the documentation. That's a manufacturer I trust. So when they say these are going to be some hurdles, I'm figuring they've been through this a few times.
Absolutely.
I think that goes a long way. You know, again, it's great to set up shop, but if that FDA cert, you know, if the ink's not dry yet, you might want to make sure that they've been around a while.
And Paul, from a branding perspective, branding is everything. You as a brand leader and being in medical and seeing how different companies are positioning themselves. I know you mentioned some things about, you know, the opportunistic side versus the people that are really tried and true. You've seen some experiences out there just recently. What are your thoughts on the branding of this and how organizations are approaching it?
Well, what I find is interesting is that how many different vendors that you'd never think of are selling PPE products. And to piggyback off what Jeff had to say, I think it's very confusing to a client for them to be able to go to auto supply place and buy masks or, you know, eye shields and things like that. That's something that's not normally what they sell. But I think it can be, right now, everybody's sort of more into a panic buy. But I really think that overall, they're going to look more to the trusted medical companies that have been out there, as Jeff said, looking for someone who has a track record. So, you know, I'm saying to Jeff, you know, how are you finding your clients when you have a long track record in medical? How are the clients feeling when you talk to them about, you know, your company and your track record, bringing in something that they're going to be probably using a lot of for the next 5 years? You know, are they supportive? Are they embracing it? You know, kind of tell me what they see.
Yeah, you know, that's a great question. And that's where it's half sales and half counselor. So reassuring people that, you know, look, we might not like it. You know, I don't like going to the dentist to get a root canal, but things come up in life and you've got to do it anyways. You've got to do your homework and you've got to prepare. And so the hope is that, you know, it's almost like being an ambulance chaser in a lot of ways. I mean, these folks, they have to buy something they've never bought before. And, you know, sitting down and explaining that to them, you know, I'm no expert as far as the science behind these, but explaining like the filtration process for the masks. I mean, there's levels and there's grades and there's reasons why people want certain levels or grades to like the masks, and sitting down and reassuring people that, you know, we've got your best interest at heart, and we've tried to do our homework, you know, and these are the things that are going to serve you best. And I think just reassuring them that, you know, everybody's in the same boat here, and you know, whether we like it or not, we're here. And so let me walk you through the process. You know, I'm thankful, again, I've got experience in commodities from the past. And so sticker shock is a big thing. Again, you get an organization that's non-medical and maybe they have 100 people filtering it out every week, explaining to them that a purchase of 1,000 widgets is a very small purchase. I mean, commodities go very quickly, and helping them work through that this isn't a capital equipment purchase. You know, you're not buying a copier, you know, from the guy at, you know, Copy X, and you're going to have it for 10 years. These things are going to cycle in and out of your facility so fast. You've really got to change your thought process. Helping someone realize that, you know, you try to be nice, but you can't be too apologetic. It's the reality is that, yep, this is a recurring sale.
Yeah, this is going to be part of their reality for a long time. All of those organizations you mentioned and a whole bunch more categories. I just want to plug into that as far as the trust factor and the certifications you mentioned. I'm glad you did, Jeff, about the certifications going back to the 90s. We got trust at an all-time high, need for trust at an all-time high for this state we're in. Trust, a track record. Mantis certainly has that. You've vetted out these vendors. You have long-standing certifications. Mantis, I'll plug Mantis a little bit. Women-owned business, veteran-owned business.
Yes.
A lot of great things going. What's maybe just in closing, Jeff, give us a couple high points about what sets Mantis apart for doing business with right now.
I think the first and foremost, I'm a pretty sterile guy. I like the facts, I like data points. And so for me, it's a total switch, but I think one of the things that we've got going for us, we are women owned. Sharon wears the emotions of the company on her sleeve. She is a working owner. She's out every day talking to customers, and that definitely sets us apart. You know, people don't just buy into Mantis. You know, I've always enjoyed sales and getting to know my customers. I don't really want them buying my product. I want them to buy me. And I think ultimately that happens. People buy me because I generally have the facts and the details. But it's very similar with Sharon. People buy Sharon because they become emotionally attached to Sharon. She also happens to be a brilliant engineer with the medical equipment itself. But outside of that, then we're a different company than we were just a couple of years ago. I think I've been on board about 18 months now. Completely rebranded ourselves. A lot of that was with Surgical Marketing Group. But the programs themselves really lend to the fact, you know, we are excellent at documentation, helping the facilities remain compliant with DOH regulations, life safety. And the programs are also built around, you know, customer service and really being friends. I mean, I caution Sharon a lot because I always tell her, you know, you've got to approach these customers a little differently. They're not our friends at a Saturday afternoon barbecue. Sharon still approaches our customers that way, and, you know, it works for her. So we have a combination of really great programs that are customer-centric, and also the documentation and keeping them compliant with the maintenance of their equipment. And we do all of that behind a customer portal that gives them complete, you know, visibility and access to complete service history for all of their equipment. So it's great from an administrative standpoint. You're planning and budgeting. You know, it helps people figure out when they need to replace equipment. It helps us understand cost effectiveness, what's costing them the most money. But again, when DOH comes in and they're conducting an audit, being able to pull up the service history on any piece of equipment, you know, everything that's been done, that's a win-win for our customers.
Absolutely, Jeff. That's a great summary. The trust, it's the visibility, it's the transparency. You're buying a team. I like that you said that you're buying a team, as this is a program. This is a long-standing process that will need to be in place, and you'd be buying into a team with Mantis. And Jeff, I think you've done a great job positioning yourselves for success and putting a great team around you. So our hats off to you. And I'm sure we'll get another installment and update real soon. This is changing fast. So look forward to more updates from the PPE as it develops. And happy weekend, everyone. We'll be talking soon. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.